Hello everyone, my name is Zara VT and I am a content creator for the First Descendants, and today we will be going over Luna, who is one of the new Descendants that was just released in the last patch. She is a really fun support character. She also has a AOE build, which is pretty fun to use as well. I do have builds for both in this video. I will say seeing Luna as a character really made me excited for the future of this game. They put a lot of details into this character. I know that there's some, oh my goodness, it's a ripoff of these other types of characters and blah, blah, blah. I personally think that they did a fantastic job with her character design, the level of detail, and how all of her abilities work, and even just how she looks while doing them. So in her base skin, I think it's really cool. Every time you use her abilities and you change her abilities, parts of her skins and outfits will change color to match the ability that you're doing. I thought this was a really nice touch. Each dance for each ability is different. I think that's really cool. They took the time to make her animations different for each and every ability, even depending on the transcendent card that you use, which I think is really cool. The level of detail that they put into this character, once again, really makes me hopeful for the other characters and designs we'll see in the future. So I really enjoyed that Luna came out. I know that her playstyle is not going to be for everyone, but we can all appreciate the attention to detail that they've given us in this character. So let's just go ahead and get started into her abilities and how she plays. Luna doesn't use any weapons, so it doesn't really matter which weapon you have equipped. What she does is her first ability pulls out her special unique weapon. It does use the modifiers on your guns, but like the ability of the gun itself, like the Thunder Cage procs and things like that, will not work on Luna when she has her ability out. Once you increase the charge meter at the bottom, you can do an enhanced skill of any of the other 3 skills. So when I say enhanced skill, that means you've charged the bar and then you can use that version of the skill upon the next press. So Luna's abilities are pretty basic. I'm going to go over the basic versions, then the enhanced versions, and then I'm going to kind of go over the patterns of attack that you would usually use to charge these. So in her basic ability, it is her Q. What she does is she pulls out a unique weapon. Every time you hit one of these skill bullet points that are green, you will get a skill power modifier increase of 1% up to a maximum of 25%. The damage here is going to be based upon your tech damage. So if you are looking to put a little bit more damage to the build, which I kind of did, you will put some tech in here. Her second ability is called Exciting Act. This is a red AoE effect. In its base forms, it increases the skill power modifier by 20%, and the skill power is increased by your maximum MP by 3.5%. Once again, it's kind of different. It's based on your max MP, not your skill power here, so that's important to note. On her enhanced versions, it goes all the way up to a 65% skill power modifier increase and a skill power base increase of 7.5%, along with the skill critical hit damage increase of 50% and skill critical hit rate increase of 35%. This is a massive damage buff. Her third ability is called Relaxing Act. What this does is increases the MP recovery amount by 8%. Relaxing Performance will recover her own mana at 0.8% every time she hits a note. It will increase the MP recovery amount of your allies by your maximum MP by 0.7% per second. So this is a really good mana increase buff for your team. In the enhanced version, your recovery amount for every hit goes up to 4.3%, and your allies' MP recovery amount goes up to a 30% increase of your max MP, along with a recovery amount per second of 2.6%. And then it also does the resource cost decrease by 56%. So massive mana buff to your team. Her fourth ability is usually how you would get to your other enhanced abilities faster. Okay, so the inspiration gauge will increase upon every successful hit of the purple dot. It will decrease your cooldowns by 10%. On the enhanced version, your inspiration gauge, the bar at the bottom, will increase by 2 on every hit, and then your cooldowns for your team will decrease by 100% and 40.9%. Why this is doubled, I'm not sure why they have it listed doubled here, but it is a massive decrease to your team's cooldowns. This is fantastic if you have like a fully built Lepic that is, you know, massive damage with a big long cooldown. This is great for just spamming those final abilities. So all in all, Luna is a very, very fun supporting character. She is fantastic to take in boss fights. It's a really fun time. Used her in Gluttony. It was really nice to use her in boss fights. Like I said, I do, however, have a problem with this build in, like I said, in doing things out in the world, because there's so much stuff going on. This particular build is a single target damage, so if you get mobbed down, it is really hard to recover from. So that's why we have the AOE damage build for when we go out and do things in the world. In her AOE damage build, which requires the Noise Surge card, her first ability removes the ability to increase her skill power modifier, and instead you're going to be swapping between her other 3 abilities. Her first ability does damage in a radius and increases her critical hit rate every time she successfully hits a note. On her third ability, it increases the critical hit damage every time you would successfully hit a note. On her fourth ability, it increases the skill power modifier every time you hit a note. So basically your goal between all of these skills is to get all of the stacks on your character as much as possible to increase your skill critical hit rate, your skill critical hit damage, and your skill power modifier to become a massive AoE monster, basically. So you got to keep up your stacks. Unfortunately, if you do go down, if you get knocked out, sometimes the cooldown does go on a very long timer. But for the most part, how I've built her, you have infinite mana. You can just spam it as much as you want, as long as you hit it in time to the beat. So now let's go on to the cards. You'll notice here in my card set, I do have some holes, and that is because, number one, she's not an ultimate descendant yet. So I really didn't want to lock her into the best card type. I really wanted her to be able to do both sets as a supporting character and an offensive character when I'm out solo. So I do have some gaps here. If you know you're going to use her one way, then yes, you can modify this to make it better. But this is currently just what I've gone with for myself. So the first ability for supporting, you want to make sure you have the Nimble Footsteps card. So this is the one that increases her movement speed and skill range. You really feel this in the boss fight. Every time you buff somebody, you get to move faster, which helps you dodge and survive longer. Your melee can be anything. It doesn't really matter here, as long as when you do your melee slot, you want to make sure that you upgrade your card slot, which will give you 5 additional capacity. This doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter what you put here, as long as you modify the slot. It will bring you up from 80 to 85. The first card here is Enlightenment. Once again, her supporting abilities scale off of maximum MP. So we have to build maximum MP into this build. So of course that means Enlightenment, which will increase her maximum MP by 15.2%. We have Maximize Range. You want to make sure that your allies are in range as much as possible. The skill power modifier here doesn't really matter because your skill power does not affect your buffing. It only affects your damage, so we don't really care about skill power. We want maximum range for maximum buffing. Maximum range, once again, skill expansion, extends the range by 92%. Shield conversion, giving her a maximum MP of 15 additional percent. We don't really care about shields in this game anyway. They're paper, so we don't mind losing it. Increased HP really helps her survivability. Once again, Battle of Stamina, maximum HP, increasing her skill duration, which will allow the buff to stay on your allies longer, is important. Preemptive Strike. This one is just a meme thing. I had extra slots, so I put it on here. It doesn't really matter. You can just remove this card, but she's not doing damage. There's really no RK here that goes well. This was slotted specifically for the AoE damage build part. So like I said, this doesn't matter here. It's just kind of throwing it in case I get some extra damage, once or twice in the boss fight. Non-attribute Sanctium. This increases her critical hit resistance, and it also increases her skill power. Like I said, we don't really care about the skill power increase, but the survivability of the critical hit resistance is really important here. And the MP Accelerant, increasing her skill duration and her maximum MP. So we have maximum MP for buffing. We've got as much survivability as we could put on her with the particular card loadout that we have. And this does really well in fights. I took it into Gluttony. We had a blast with it. It was really fun. Buffing the team. This gave my team between like a 75% and 100% damage buff increase per hit. So it's wild. The damage increase is wild. That being said, you'll have to recognize that when you look at the damage meters at the end of the boss fight, you're going to be kind of sad because you're not going to do much damage, but that's okay. You're here for your team, so this is a really, really fun supporting build. And then if you don't want to support, that's okay. Supporting isn't for everyone. I totally understand that. So this is the AoE build. So this does require Noise Surge. This is the stackable buff to Luna that will increase all of her damage, like we spoke about earlier. You want to make sure that her mod capacity slot is upgraded. Doesn't matter what you use here once again. And then we're going for damage. So we want emergency measures, skill critical hit rate, skill critical hit damage, front lines, skill critical hit damage, skill critical hit rate, and once again, skill critical hit damage in the form of skill concentration. Singular specialist, her AOE abilities are singular, so you want to give her some singular ability power. Range is important. The base range of this ability is very small, so you will have to put range cards on her to make her effective. So we have skill expansion and maximize range for this. Honestly, you could remove maximize range if you wanted to and just go for more damage with a lower area, but in most of the mobbing builds that you're doing, the skill power modifier down doesn't really matter because they don't take a lot of damage. It doesn't take a lot of damage to kill them anyway. So this really just helps get the maximum range possible. Maximize efficiency, the skill cost reduction. Once again, on this one, we don't care about her maximum MP, so we can sacrifice her maximum MP to reduce the skill cost of the spamming. And increased HP just for survivability here. And then energy collection, which really helps her MP recovery. So with these two cards right here, you have infinite MP to spam your abilities as much as you want, and you will always recover enough MP to just keep on going. Now for her reactor and her components. So what I have on her right now, non-attribute tech reactors. This is for her support build. So we have the skill effect range increase in the substats and the tech skill power boost ratio. Like I said, this is just to put a little bit more damage on her, so that way I can be doing at least some damage during the boss fights here. You could put skill effect range and skill cost decrease. That would be really good as well for her. But skill effect range is important. You want to make sure that you are hitting that max distance because you want to be able to buff as many members of your team as possible. And then once again, tech ratio is based on her Q and her single target damage abilities, which you will be attacking the boss with your Q. For the reactor, for the damage build, you want to get a non-attribute singular reactor. You're going to want some critical hit damage, overall non-attribute damage, or singular damage on the substats for increased damage. Maybe increased range as well. There's multiple ways you can do it. Whatever you find that you're lacking in your build, and you're like, then this is where you want to tailor that with your reactor. Unfortunately, at the time I made this video, the singular reactors were not out, so I will be farming for that later on. She has the Hungry Sonic Auxiliary Power set on, so what this does is this also increases her particular MP region. So I haven't fully kitted this out yet. I'm missing the key piece about this kit. Honestly, maximum MP. This is what's going to buff your team the most. So you want to get as high as the maximum MP as possible on your sensors. Like I said, I'm currently farming to get the last slot of this one for this particular set. You want to get a MP recovery modifier. You really want to make sure you're not running out of MP. Sometimes in the boss fights it's really hectic and you miss your notes. If you miss your notes, you drain MP like a crazy person. So you want to make sure you've got the extra MP to get that back. Probably want to go for more resistances here, but that's all right. So ideally, if you got this set to max and you had exactly what you wanted on it, you could probably go into the damage build and remove some of that MP region and be able to slot some more damage into that particular build. However, without having the complete set here, I was having some mana issues being infinite, so we fixed it to where it's currently infinite. And then later on, you might be able to remove some of that and add some damage once you get the full component set. Thank you guys so much for watching my build guide. Luna is really, really fun. She's crazy, she's hectic, she's different. I enjoyed playing her after a while. When you first start out, she's really rough. You don't have the power, you don't have the survivability. You're kind of just getting beat down all the time. But as you build her up and you start socketing her more, and you get her gear a little bit tailored better for her, she is really fun to play. She's actually really enjoyable in boss fights. I like her in boss fights. I enjoy supporting as a character, so she does that really, really well. I've got some footage here of just bossing around with Luna, buffing the team. It's a blast. Thank you guys so much for watching. I stream every day on Twitch, so please feel free to stop by if you have any questions or see my builds in action. I don't mind showing them off. If you have any other questions as well, please come by and ask, and I'm happy to help. Please support me in game as your creator, by going to the social tab, typing in my name, AravaVT, #9304, scrolling down to the creator icon at the bottom, and accepting me as your creator. This will help me make more videos like this in the future. I look forward to seeing you guys later, and have a fantastic day.